Book 2, Chapter 17 of the Lancashire Witches. This recording is in the public domain. Reading by Andy Minter. The Lancashire Witches, a Romance of Pendle Forest, by William Harrison Ainsworth. Book 2, Pendle Forest. Chapter 17. How the beacon fire was extinguished. Soon after this, Nicholas Assheton, attended by 2 or 3 men, came up and asked whither the old witch had flown. Mistress Nutter pointed out the course taken by the fugitives, who had run towards the northern extremity of the hill, down the sides of which he had already plunged. "She has been carried off by her grandson, Jem Device," said Mistress Nutter. "Be quick, or you will lose her." "Ay, be quick," added Mother Chattox. "Yonder they went, to the back of the beacon." Casting a look at the wretched speaker, and finding she was too grievously wounded to be able to move, Nicholas bestowed no further thought upon her, but set off with his companions in the direction pointed out. He speedily arrived at the edge of the hill, and, looking down it, sought in vain for any appearance of the fugitives. The sides were here steep and shelving, and some 100 yards lower down were broken into ridges, behind one of which it was possible the old witch and her grandson might be concealed. So, without a moment's hesitation, the squire descended, and began to search about in the hollows, scrambling over the loose stones, or sliding down some paces with the uncertain boggy soil, when he fancied he heard a plaintive cry. He looked around, but could see no one. The whole side of the mountain was lighted up by the fire from the beacon, which, instead of diminishing, burnt with increased ardour, so that every object was as easily to be discerned as in the daytime. But, notwithstanding this, he could not detect whence the sound proceeded. It was repeated, but more faintly than before, and Nicholas almost persuaded himself it was the voice of Potts calling for help. Motioning to his followers, who were engaged in the search like himself, to keep still, the squire listened intently, and again caught the sound, being this time convinced it arose from the ground. Was it possible the unfortunate attorney had been buried alive, or had he been thrust into some hole, and a stone placed over it, which he found it impossible to remove? The latter idea seemed the more probable, and Nicholas was guided by a feeble repetition of the noise towards a large fragment of rock, which, on examination, had evidently been rolled from a point immediately over the mouth of a hollow. The squire instantly set himself to work to dislodge the ponderous stone, and, aided by 2 of his men, who lent their broad shoulders to the task, quickly accomplished this object, disclosing what appeared to be the mouth of a cavernous recess. From out of this, as soon as the stone was removed, popped the head of Master Potts, and Nicholas, bidding him be of good cheer, laid hold of him to draw him forth, as he seemed to have some difficulty in extricating himself, when the attorney cried out, "Don't pull too hard, squire. That accursed Jem Device has got hold of my legs. Not so hard, sir, I entreat." "Bid him let go," said Nicholas, unable to refrain from laughing, "or we will unearth him from his badger's hole." "He pays no heed to what I say to him," cried Potts. "Oh dear, oh dear! He is dragging me down again." And as he spoke, the attorney, notwithstanding all Nicholas's efforts to restrain him, was pulled down into the hole. The squire was at a loss what to do, and was considering whether he should resort to the tedious process of digging him out, when a scrambling noise was heard, and the captive's head once more appeared above ground. "Are you coming out now?" asked Nicholas. "Alas, no," replied the attorney, "unless you will make terms with the rascal. He declares he will strangle me if you do not promise to set him and his grandmother free." "Is Mother Demdike with him?" asked Nicholas. "To be sure," replied Potts, "and we are as badly off for room as 3 foxes in a hole." "And is there no other outlet?" said the squire. "I conclude not," replied the attorney. "I groped about like a mole when I was first thrust into the cavern by Jem Device, but I could find no means of exit. The entrance was blocked up by the great stone, which you had some difficulty in moving, but which Jem could shift at will, for he pushed it aside in a moment, and brought it back to its place when he returned just now with the old hag. But probably that was effected by witchcraft." "Most likely," said Nicholas; "but for you being in it, we would stop up this hole, and bury the two wretches alive." "Get me out first, good Master Nicholas, I implore of you, and then do what you please," cried Potts. "Jem is tugging at my legs as if he would pull them off." "We will try to see who is strongest," said Nicholas, again seizing hold of Potts by the shoulders. "Oh dear! oh dear! Oh, I can't bear it! Let go!" shrieked the attorney. "I shall be stretched to twice my natural length. My joints are starting from their sockets. My legs are coming off. Oh! oh!" "Lend a hand here, one of you," cried Nicholas to the men. "We'll have him out, whatever the consequences." "But I won't come," roared Potts. "You have no right to use me thus. Torture! Oh, my loins are ruptured. My back is breaking. I am a dead man. The hag has got hold of my right leg, while Jem is tugging with all his force at the left." "Pull away," cried Nicholas. "He's coming." "My legs are off," yelled Potts, as he was plucked suddenly forth, with a jerk that threw the squire and his assistants on their backs. "I shall never be able to walk more. No, Heaven be praised," he added, looking down on his lower limbs. "I have only lost my boots." "Never mind it, then," cried Nicholas; "but thank your stars you are above ground once more. Harkee, Jem," he continued, shouting down the hole, "if you don't come forth at once, and bring Mother Demdike with you, we'll close up the mouth of this hole in such a way as you shan't require another grave. Do you hear?" "Yeigh," replied Jem, his voice coming hoarsely and hollowly up, like the accents of a ghost. "Am I to go free if I comply?" "Certainly not," replied the squire. "You have a choice between this hole and the hangman's cord at Lancaster, that's all. In either case you'll die by suffocation. But be quick. We've wasted time enough already with you." "Then, if that's all you do for me, squire, I needn't stay where I am," rejoined Jem. "Very well," replied Nicholas. "Here, my man, stop up this hole with earth and stones. Master Potts, you'll lend a hand to the task." "Readily, sir," replied the attorney, "though I shall lose the pleasure I had anticipated of seeing that old carrion crow roasted alive." "Stay a bit, squire," roared Jem, as preparations were actively made for carrying Nicholas's order into execution. "Stay a bit, and I'll come out and bring t' owd woman wi' me." "I thought you'd change your mind," replied Nicholas, laughing. "Be upon your guard," he added, in a low tone to the others, "and seize him the moment he appears." But Jem evidently found it no easy matter to perform his promise, for stifled shrieks and other noises proclaimed that a desperate struggle was going on between him and his grandmother. "Aha!" exclaimed Nicholas, placing his ear to the hole. "The old hag's unwilling to come forth, and spits and scratches like a cat a mountain, while Jem grips her like a terrier. It's a hard tussle between them, but he's getting the better of it, and is pushing her forth. Now look out!" And as he spoke, Mother Demdike's terrible head protruded from the ground, and, despite the execrations she poured forth upon her enemies, she was instantly seized by them, thrown out of the cavern, and secured. While the men were thus engaged, and while Nicholas's attention was for an instant diverted, Jem bounded forth as suddenly as a wolf from his lair, and, dashing aside all opposition, plunged down the hill. "It's useless to pursue him," said Nicholas. "He'll not escape. The whole country will be roused by the beacon fire, and hue and cry shall be made after him." "Right!" exclaimed Potts. "And now let some one creep back into that cavern and bring out my boots, and then I shall be in a better condition to attend you." The request being complied with, and the attorney being once more equipped for walking, the party climbed the hill side, and, bringing Mother Demdike with them, shaped their course towards the beacon. And now to see what had taken place in the interim. Scarcely had the squire quitted Mistress Nutter than Sir Ralph Assheton rode up to her. "Why do you loiter here, madam?" he said, in a stern tone, somewhat tempered by sorrow. "I have held back to give you an opportunity of escape. The hill is invested by your enemies. On that side Roger Nowell is advancing, and on this Sir Thomas Metcalfe and his followers. You may possibly effect a retreat in the opposite direction.